Good morning. Great to have you with us. Congress remains on recess, and last week, that gave us a chance to sit down and talk with outspoken Senator Elizabeth Warren. Well, this week, it's the Liz Warren of the House delegation joining us, Congressman Michael Capuano of Somerville, now in his 9th term representing the 7th Congressional District. Congressman, welcome.
I don't know about that introduction, but it's fine. It's interesting.
You'll take it, right?
Sure, why not?
You've been called a lot worse.
A lot worse. Sometimes by you.
On occasion. I don't remember it, but I don't deny it. Anyway, it's good to have you here. So I hear the Green Line extension from Lechmere to Union Square and Tufts is going to cost at least $1 billion more than estimates. Are you kidding me? What happened?
You'll have to ask the state. This is the state's estimates.
Yeah.
They're the ones that, and theoretically, when they get the federal approval, they had sharpened their pencils and done all their work, and this is only less than a year ago. And that's part of the problem. The state is currently doing their own forensic review as to what exactly happened. They have some theories, but they have some more work to do.
Apparently, DePaula, the head of the T, said at the board meeting the other day that T engineers based their cost estimates on bottom-of-the-recession construction costs.
I heard that.
How can that be?
That is idiotic. That's somebody who's trying to get a project to appear better than it is, as opposed to being honest about it. And again, that was a previous administration that did that. So at the same time, to me, I think that's part of the problem with state government as a whole. I'm not blaming anybody in particular. It's such a generic problem, is that why, and the T has been historically part of this problem, why can't you just tell the truth? If a project's going to cost X, it's going to cost X. If it's going to take 10 years, say it's going to take 10 years, as opposed to say, oh no, it's X less this, and we're going to get it done in 3 years. It never happens. And, you know, having been a former mayor, we built things, and we always told the truth about it. And some people didn't like the upfront cost of whatever it might have been, a school or a fire station or whatever it might have been. And we'd tell them the truth of how long it would take and what the process was. And it worked out. People are supportive of that.
Right.
They get very upset, I'm one of them, when this kind of thing happens.
As we just saw with the Olympic bid, once they lost their credibility, it was all over. You play a key role in shepherding federal funds here, particularly for transportation because of your seat on the Transportation Committee. And I know I've been reading about concerns by you and others that this whole business with the overruns might jeopardize the federal commitment to us. How shaky is that?
It won't jeopardize it unless the state changes the project. So that the way it works is when the state goes in for their approval, they have certain criteria to meet at the federal level. You have to be able to do this, mostly environmental, ridership, things like that. And once you meet those criteria, they're based on the state's numbers, and the federal government does review it at the time to make sure the state has done its job. They say, okay, here we go. And in this particular case, the state came in at, give or take, $2 billion, and the federal government said, okay, we'll do 50%, which is the norm. We'll do $1 billion. And then you move forward. At this point in time, anything above that, anything above the general cost is the state's burden. So the state will have to make this up. The federal, if they want to go back for more federal money, they have to go to the end of the line and start all over again, which adds years and years to this project.
We got to take a break, but very briefly before we do, is there any residual skepticism of us holding over from the big dig days?
No, not on the. I mean, the answer is yes, but not on the people who make this decision. The answer is yes in Congress, no in the administration.
All right, Congressman, stand by. We'll continue our conversation and talk about the Iran deal and maybe some presidential politics too when we continue in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking with Congressman Mike Capuano of Somerville. And Congressman, last time I checked, you were one of a handful of members of our delegation still undecided about this deal with Iran to contain their nuclear ambitions. You have said you're, quote, strongly leaning toward supporting it. What's the holdup?
The holdup is, in this particular case, facts on the ground can change immediately. This is the most volatile region in the whole world. Any number of players could change the facts on the ground, or something could come out of this that I don't know already. We're still in the process of meeting with people and learning about it, and learning different people's opinions about it. I don't expect that will happen, but I'm one of those people that don't like to say I'm definitely voting yes or no until I am definitely voting yes or no. And in this particular case, I probably won't be definite until the day of the vote, just because, God forbid, something could happen.
Well, give me an example. What do you find most troubling here?
I find all the issues that have been publicized troubling as much as everybody else. The 24-day notice, how much involvement Iran has, all that stuff. But the details are secondary to me. The primary and only real question I have is, I'm faced with a yes or no answer. And my question, the only question is the world better off if I vote yes or vote no based on the current deal I have? At the moment, I think the answer is yes. The world is better off. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Kind of like the health care bill. I voted for the health care bill having listed a whole bunch of concerns I had at the time, and now more have arisen. I still think it was the right vote, not because it was perfect. It's because it moved the cause forward of covering more people with health insurance. In this case, I think the current deal is a step forward in promising the better chance of peace in the region. I'm not 100% settled that, but that's where I'm leaning at the moment.
Even though it provides one of the most dangerous and violent regimes in the world with billions of dollars in capital?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the things I don't like. But they've funded Hezbollah even during the worst of the sanctions. They have continued their research even during the worst of the sanctions. What makes anybody think that this is going to change anything? Right. Again, I know I could be wrong, and that's one of the reasons I'm taking as much time as I possibly can to be as comfortable as I can with my vote.
Well, you're one of the few prominent Massachusetts politicians who hasn't yet been publicly insulted by Donald Trump. Are you losing your edge? What's up with that?
I don't know. He probably hasn't heard some of the things I said about him. And
what have you been saying about him?
Oh, nothing. I mean, I was one of the first to get quoted. Somebody asked me about him, and I said he reminded me of the guy at the end of the bar, a little bit too loud and a little bit too knowledgeable on everything and a little bit too narrow on substance.
What do you make of his support?
Look, I consider myself one of those angry people in many senses of the word, so I understand, the feeling of I don't like what's going on, whatever it might be, and I want to lash out at that. I understand that. I think he's tapping into that directly. I don't think he's tapping into thoughtful people who won't really understand these issues, but at the same time, I don't think he's going to be president, so what difference does it make?
We'll be watching, and we always appreciate having you here.
Nice to see you, John.
Thank you very much. Congressman Mike Capuano, that's it for me. Now it's back to my colleagues for more WBZ News.